Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. When a narcissist starts to fall apart, when the lies catch up, when the masks come off, when the people they once controlled finally walk away, it ain't a pretty sight. See, most people think narcissists are always confident, always in control. But what they don't know is narcissists can and do collapse. And when that collapse comes, it's ugly, it's desperate, and it's dangerous, especially for the people who love them the most. And that's why you need to watch this all the way through. Because if you've ever walked away from a narcissist, or if you're planning to, you need to know what's coming next. You need to know the tricks, the tantrums, the traps they set when their world starts falling apart. Because the collapse isn't quiet. And if you're not ready, they'll try to drag you down with them. Let's get into the 6 key things narcissists do when they collapse, so you can recognize it, protect your peace, and stay one step ahead. When a narcissist starts to collapse, when their image is cracked and their control is slipping through their fingers, the very first thing they do is flip the script and play the victim harder than they ever have before. You could be the one they cheated on, lied to, disrespected, manipulated, and discarded. And somehow they'll find a way to make it all about how you hurt them. That's not just coincidence, that's strategy. It's the most reliable tool in their box, because narcissists know the power of pity. They know that while people may not admire them the same way anymore, they can still get attention and control through sympathy. When they start losing grip on a relationship, their image, their social standing, they can feel it. It hits their ego hard. It's like watching a castle made of mirrors fall apart. And instead of sitting with the truth that they were the ones swinging the hammer, they look around for someone else to blame. And that someone is usually the person who finally said, enough. The person who woke up, the person who walked away. That's when the crocodile tears come out. That's when they start spinning stories that make them look like the brokenhearted one, the misunderstood one, the one who tried so hard but was so deeply betrayed. You'll see them reach out to mutual friends, family, even your own circle, crying about how devastated they are. They'll say things like, I did everything I could, or I just loved them too much. Meanwhile, you're sitting there with a heart full of scars, confused how someone who put you through hell is suddenly the one getting all the hugs and sympathy. That's the collapse in motion. It's not just emotional, it's theatrical, it's damage control. They want to be seen as the one who was abandoned, not the one who caused the abandonment. And this victim act works on people who don't know the full story. It works on the outsiders, the ones who only saw the polished version of them. These folks didn't witness the gaslighting behind closed doors, the emotional manipulation, the lies told with a smile. So when the narcissist comes running with teary eyes and dramatic tales, they believe it. They say, wow, I can't believe what happened to you. And just like that, the narcissist has a brand new audience, and you're painted as the villain. But here's the part that really messes with your head. Sometimes they'll even try to play the victim to you. They'll come back into your life acting hurt, acting shocked, acting like they never saw this coming. They'll talk about how hard things have been, how broken they feel without you. And if you're not grounded in your truth, it'll pull at your heartstrings. You'll start second guessing yourself, wondering, did I overreact? Did I give up too soon? That's the power of their victimhood. It makes you forget your own pain while trying to fix theirs. And that's exactly what they want, because the moment you start feeling sorry for them, they've got a foot back in the door. They don't even have to change. They just have to convince you they've suffered enough. They'll use pity to reset the relationship. They'll skip over the part where they acknowledge the harm they caused. There's no real apology, no real reflection, no change in behavior. Just tears and sad eyes and the hope that your empathy will make you forget what really happened. But here's the truth. Narcissists don't play the victim because they're weak. They do it because it works. It keeps them from facing accountability. It lets them rewrite the story. It helps them avoid the shame they deeply fear, but never admit to. Because admitting they were wrong, that they hurt someone, that they brought the collapse on themselves, that's too heavy, that's too real. So they trade in guilt for sympathy, and they wear it like a shield. So if you're dealing with a narcissist in collapse, understand this: the tears might be real, but the story behind them is not. Their pain might exist, but it's not the same pain they caused you. And you are not responsible for saving someone who never thought twice about hurting you. Don't let the performance pull you back in. Don't let guilt undo your healing. Recognize the victim act for what it is, a final play to keep control in a game that's finally falling apart, and walk away knowing the truth. You don't have to carry their pain, especially when they never carried yours. When a narcissist collapses, one of the most obvious things they start doing is trying to rewrite the entire story. Your story, their story, the truth, everything. They can't let the real version of events stand because in that version they lose. They're exposed. They're no longer the victim or the hero. They're the one who caused the destruction. And that's a role they absolutely refuse to play. So what do? They start changing the narrative piece by piece until they no longer look like the one who broke things. They look like the one who tried to save it. This rewriting doesn't happen all at once. It begins slowly, subtly, and usually with small, intentional lies. They'll say things like, "I tried to communicate, but they just didn't listen," or "I was the one holding everything together while they were always emotional or unstable." These aren't mistakes. They're designed lies. They're laying the groundwork for a new story, one that paints them in a better light, one that helps them gain sympathy, preserve their image, and avoid facing the consequences of their behavior. And the scary part, they'll do it with full confidence. They'll speak with conviction, making it sound like they're just sharing their side of the story, when in fact they're completely twisting the truth. They leave out context. They erase their own cruelty. They conveniently forget the way they gaslit you, manipulated you, belittled you, or pushed you past your breaking point. Instead, they highlight every time you snapped, every time you cried, every moment you broke down from carrying too much for too long. They use your reactions as proof of their version of events, ignoring the reality that those reactions were responses to their abuse. What makes it even more dangerous is that they'll take this false narrative and start spreading it to anyone who will listen. Friends, family, co-workers, mutual acquaintances. Anyone they think might believe them or carry their version of the story forward. They know that once you begin to heal and share your truth, they're going to need an army of people who doubt you before you even speak. So they work fast, telling lies dressed as concern. "I'm worried about them." They'll say, "They've been acting out." Or, "I love them, but they were never satisfied with anything." It's all meant to discredit you before you even get the chance to open your mouth. If you confront them about it, they'll act confused. They'll say, "I never said that," or "You must have misunderstood me." But they know what they're doing. They're trying to flip the script so convincingly that even you start to question your memory. You begin to ask yourself, maybe I'm being too harsh, or did it really happen the way I remember it? That's the power of narrative control. If they can't control your actions anymore, they'll try to control the perception of your actions. They want people to see you as unstable, overly emotional, unforgiving, or difficult, because that distracts from their own toxic behavior. And this isn't just about saving face, it's about control. Narcissists thrive off controlling how people see them. Their image is their armor. It's what keeps them safe from scrutiny. So when the real truth threatens that image, they go into survival mode. They'll lie, twist facts, and even believe their own lies just to stay protected. That's why you'll notice them telling the same story over and over again, to the point where they start to believe it themselves. It becomes their reality, and anyone who disagrees becomes toxic or the enemy. But here's what they don't expect: you knowing your truth so clearly, so deeply, that no lie can shake it. They don't expect you to stay calm when they're telling stories. They don't expect you to hold your head high when people come to you with questions or gossip. That's when their rewrite starts falling apart. Because the more confident you are in what really happened, the more cracks show in the story they're trying to sell. So when you see them out here spinning tales and flipping facts, don't waste your energy chasing every rumor. You don't have to defend yourself to everyone. The people who matter will see the truth. Time has a way of revealing what lies can't hide forever. And your consistency, your peace, your healing, that speaks louder than anything they could say. Narcissists rewrite history because the real story doesn't serve them. But you don't have to fight lies with more noise. You fight them by living in truth, by standing in it, and by refusing to play the game. Let them write fiction. You're living reality, and that's what sets you free. When a narcissist begins to collapse, one of the most confusing and emotionally draining things they do is suddenly act like they've seen the light. They start begging, bargaining, and making promises they have no real intention of keeping. This shift is not about genuine change, it's about desperation. When they feel their control slipping and realize they're about to lose someone who actually mattered, they throw everything they've got at you to reel you back in. And for a moment, it might look like they've finally grown up, but don't be fooled. This is just another phase of the manipulation game. At first, they may reach out in a quiet, humble way, just a message, a call, a random apology out of nowhere. And suddenly, they're saying everything you waited to hear for years. I've been thinking about what I did. I finally understand how I hurt you. You didn't deserve the way I treated you. On the surface, it sounds like real growth. You start wondering, could they really be changing? Is this finally the breakthrough moment? But here's the truth. Narcissists don't suddenly wake up emotionally mature. What they do wake up to is the realization that they're losing supply. They're losing someone who used to feed their ego, who forgave them, who listened to their stories, who gave them attention, affection, and validation. That loss isn't breaking their heart, it's shaking their identity. So when they see you pulling away for good, when they feel that door closing, they go into panic mode. They don't want to change, they just want back in. So they start making big promises. I'm going to therapy. I've changed. I realize now what I lost. They may even cry, send long letters, or show up with gifts. But you have to ask yourself, why now? Why only after you pulled back? Why not after the first, second, or third time they hurt you? The answer is simply, it's not about the pain they caused. It's about the control they're losing. And it's not just emotional apologies. They'll use whatever tactic they think will work. They'll remind you of the good times. They'll say, remember when we laughed all night? Oh, we're so good together when things were right. They'll paint a picture of the version of themselves you fell in love with, hoping that nostalgia will cloud your judgment. But what they won't mention is the nights you cried yourself to sleep, the times you felt invisible, or the way they gaslit you into silence. They'll bring back everything but accountability. Some narcissists will even take it a step further and start doing the things you begged them to do before. They'll be kind to your friends. They'll clean up after themselves. They'll go to that counseling session or quote something from a self-help book just to prove they've grown. But it's all performance. It's not rooted in understanding. It's rooted in strategy. Because deep down, they know if they show signs of change, they might get another shot. And let's be honest, this is the most dangerous phase, because this is where your heart gets tested. You start to doubt yourself. You start thinking maybe you gave up too soon. Maybe they're really trying. Maybe this is the version of them you always believed they could become. That's the hook. That's what keeps people stuck in the cycle. This temporary show of self-awareness that disappears the second they feel safe again. Because once they're back in, once you open that door, the old behavior slowly returns. They stop trying. They stop talking. They stop pretending. The promises fade. The charm wears off. And you find yourself right back in the same place, only now with more pain, more confusion, and even more self-doubt. That's the pattern. And the only way to break it is to stop believing that words without consistent action mean anything. Change takes time. Growth takes humility. And narcissists don't change just because they lost someone. They change when they're willing to confront the truth about themselves. And most of them aren't ready for that. They're ready to act, ready to perform, ready to say what needs to be said in the moment. But real change, that's rare. So when they come begging, don't just listen to what they say. Watch what they do. Look at the pattern. Look at the history. Look at how many times they said they'd change and didn't. And then ask yourself, do you want the cycle again, or do you want peace? You deserve peace. You deserve real love, not just time promises. So don't let their desperation be the reason you abandon your healing. Let it be the confirmation that you finally did something they didn't expect. You took your power back. And that's what scares them most. When a narcissist begins to collapse, when their charm no longer works, when the mask starts to slip and people stop buying into their performance, that's when the rage shows up. It doesn't creep in slowly. It hits like a storm. This is not just regular anger either. It's deep, explosive, and often unpredictable. Narcissistic rage is what surfaces when they realize they're no longer in control of the narrative, the relationship, or their image. And once they feel like their power is being taken away, their reaction becomes one of pure emotional chaos. At first, they may have tried to beg, plead, or charm their way back into your life. But when none of that works, when they sense that you're really done, they flip. The same person who used to say, "I love you," with fake tears in their eyes, will now scream at you, insult you, or attack your character in the most vicious ways. Because now, you're not just someone who walked away. You're someone who dared to expose their weakness. That's what narcissists can't handle, being seen as anything less than perfect. The rage doesn't always look like yelling, though. Sometimes it comes out as cold, calculated punishment. They'll give you the silent treatment. They'll block you, ignore you, or act like you never existed. Not because they've moved on, but because they want you to feel erased. They want you to feel the sting of rejection. They want you to question your worth. In their mind, if they can't control you with love, they'll try to control you with pain. This is when they might start spreading lies about you to friends, family, and even strangers. They'll take private details you shared in trust and weaponize them. They'll call you unstable, crazy, ungrateful, anything to make people side with them. Because when a narcissist loses control, the next best thing is making sure you lose credibility. It's not about the truth, it's about revenge. It's about restoring their ego, even if it means tearing you down in the process. And here's the thing, their rage is not your fault. You could have left calmly. You could have communicated with kindness, You could have walked away after giving them countless chances. It wouldn't matter. In their eyes, your decision to leave is a betrayal of their fantasy world. A world where they're always right and everyone else is lucky to be around them. You stepping out of that world is not just a breakup. It's a collapse of the identity they've built around your loyalty. What's even more shocking is how quickly they can switch. One moment they're calling you the love of their life, and the next they're calling you every name in the book. That's because narcissistic love isn't love. It's possession. It's about what you provide for them. And when you no longer serve that purpose, they don't mourn the relationship. They retaliate against the loss of control. Their rage is a last-ditch effort to regain power, even if it means destroying the connection entirely. You might start to wonder if you did the right thing walking away. You might feel guilty, scared, or overwhelmed by the chaos they leave behind. That's exactly what they want. The anger isn't just a reaction, it's a trap. It's designed to make you feel responsible for their emotions. It's meant to make you question your decision, doubt your strength, and consider going back just to calm things down. But you don't owe them peace when they brought you pain. You don't owe them softness when they chose violence, emotional or otherwise. It's important to protect yourself in this phase. Narcissistic rage can escalate. It can become dangerous mentally, emotionally, and in some cases physically. This is not the time to argue, explain, or try to be the bigger person. This is the time to go silent, go safe, and go forward, because nothing you say will bring them back to reason. They're not looking for clarity. They're looking for control. And if they can't have that, they'll burn everything down trying to make sure you don't feel whole without them. But here's what they don't realize: their rage is actually proof that you've taken your power back. Because if they still had you wrapped around their finger, they wouldn't be lashing out. They'd be smiling and manipulating like always. That rage, that fury,
That's fear.
that's panic. That's them realizing that you're not coming back. And the truth is, there's nothing more dangerous to a narcissist than someone who's finally done. So let them rage. Let them scream. Let them try to rewrite the story. You know the truth. And more importantly, you know peace is not something they'll ever give you. It's something you give yourself when you stop giving your energy to someone who only knows how to take. When a narcissist is in collapse, when their world is crumbling and their usual tricks no longer work. One of the strangest and most frustrating things they do is disappear from your life like you never mattered. They stop calling. They stop texting. They go radio silent. But don't be fooled. This silence is not peace. It's not growth. And it's definitely not healing. It's performance. Because while they pretend not to care, what they're really doing is watching you, spying, checking in from a distance. They're still very much in your life. They're just hiding behind the curtain now. Narcissists know that going completely cold can mess with your head. After everything they put you through, after all the promises, the chaos, the emotional roller coasters, they suddenly vanish. No closure, no explanation. Nothing. And that's silence, that's strategic. It's their final play to make you feel abandoned, confused, and even guilty. They want you wondering, how could they just leave like that? Or did they ever care at all? The hope is that the silence will be so loud, you'll break and reach out. And if you do, they win. They get to play the victim. They get to say, see, you still need me. But while they're pretending to move on, don't think for 1 second that they're actually gone. They're still watching. They're checking your social media. They're asking mutual friends about you. They're driving past your house or suddenly showing up in places you used to go together. They may even make fake accounts to keep tabs on you without being noticed. it's creepy, it's manipulative, and it's intentional. They want to know if you're hurting. They want to know if you're happy without them. They want to see if you've truly let go. This kind of passive monitoring is all about control. Even in silence, they're trying to stay connected. They can't stand the idea that you might be healing, that you might be living without them, that you might be thriving. That's their worst nightmare. Because in their mind, they were the center of your world. They think your life was supposed to fall apart when they left. So when they see you smiling, working on yourself, or moving on with peace and dignity, it burns them. That's why they stay in the shadows. That's why they don't confront you directly. Because as much as they want control, they fear your strength even more. And here's where it gets tricky. If they do see that you're doing well, they might suddenly reappear. You'll get a message that sounds innocent. Hey, just checking in. Or maybe, I had a dream about you. They'll test the waters to see if there's still space for them in your life. They'll pretend like no time has passed, like nothing bad ever happened. But don't be fooled. They didn't come back because they changed. They came back because they couldn't stand being on the outside looking in. You have to understand, the silence isn't respect. It's not maturity. It's not emotional distance in a healthy way. It's part of the game. Narcissists don't just disappear. They go underground. They create the illusion that they've moved on while secretly hoping that you haven't. They use distance as a tactic, not as a step toward healing. And when you finally start enjoying the calm, when your nervous system finally starts to relax, that's when they often try to sneak back in. But you're wiser now. You felt the sting of their words. You've carried the weight of their silence. You've lived in the confusion of loving someone who only knew how to take. And now you can see this for what it is, not a breakup, but a pattern. Not healing, but hiding. Not peace, but control in disguise. So don't take the silence personally. Don't waste time wondering why they don't reach out or what they're doing behind the scenes. If someone truly cared about you, they wouldn't ghost you and spy on you. They'd show up with honesty, they'd communicate, they'd grow. But narcissists don't want connection. They want control. And when they can't have it up close, they settle for watching from a distance, hoping that their absence keeps you stuck. But it doesn't have to. Their silence can be the very space you need to rediscover your voice. Their distance can be the piece you use to build your strength. You don't have to chase closure. You don't have to respond when they reappear. You don't have to keep yourself small so they stay comfortable. Let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them realize that you were the light the whole time. And now that they've stepped out of your life, you finally see how brightly you can shine without their shadow hanging over you. When a narcissist is going through collapse, when their lies stop working, when people start seeing through their charm, and when the mask slips completely, they don't stop playing the game. They just start looking for a new one. And that's why one of the most predictable things they do during collapse is jump right into a new relationship or situation where they can rebuild their image, reclaim control, and start the cycle all over again. This isn't about healing. This isn't about growth. This is about replacement. They're not trying to move forward. They're trying to recover what they lost by pretending it never happened. To a narcissist, people are not partners. They're mirrors, tools. They see others as a way to reflect the image they want to believe about themselves. So when the old relationship ends, especially one where they were exposed or rejected, they don't take time to process the damage. They don't reflect on what they did wrong. They don't sit in that discomfort and learn from it. They move fast, they move loud, and they make sure the world knows they're doing just fine. And how do they do that? by posting pictures with someone new, acting like they've already found the one, and making it look like they've upgraded. This quick replacement, often called narcissistic supply, isn't love. It's a distraction. It's a performance. They don't want to feel the sting of loss or the emptiness that collapse brings. So they cover it up with the attention of someone new, someone who doesn't yet know the truth, someone who still sees the mask. And for a while, that new person will be showered with compliments, gifts, promises, and affection, the same way you once were. It'll look perfect on the outside, but behind the scenes, it's the same script. It's just a new co-star. What's painful is watching this unfold, watching them treat someone new the way you always begged to be treated, watching them post smiles, vacations, and love notes like they've changed. But don't be fooled. This isn't healing, it's hiding, because the moment that new person starts to ask questions, show boundaries, or see behind the charm, the same cracks will appear. The rage, the gaslighting, the manipulation, it will all return, because they never fixed it, they just ran from it. A narcissist doesn't move on in a healthy way because moving on requires ownership. It requires humility. It means saying, I messed up and I want to be better. But a narcissist can't go there. To them, admitting fault feels like admitting failure. So instead, they go find someone new to believe in the fantasy, someone new to buy into the illusion that they're the perfect partner. And for a while, that illusion will hold, because narcissists are masters at mirroring, saying what the other person wants to hear, becoming exactly what the other person is looking for. But it's not real. It's a costume, and costumes always come off. This cycle of replacing people isn't just about ego, it's about survival. Narcissists need admiration to feel worthy. They need control to feel safe. So when they lose someone who used to provide that, they go looking for someone else who will. That's why their new relationships often start fast and loud. It's not love, it's recovery. It's an emergency repair to a damaged ego. And once the new supply is secured, they feel stable again for a little while. But the truth always comes back. And when it does, the cycle will start all over. The new partner will eventually feel what you felt. The confusion, the invalidation, the emotional roller coaster. Because you weren't the problem, the pattern was. And that pattern doesn't stop until the narcissist is willing to face their reflection without blaming someone else for the cracks. And most of the time, they're not ready for that. So what can you do? Stay grounded in reality. Remind yourself that what they're showing online or telling others isn't the truth. It's an edited version. It's marketing, not healing. You don't need to compete. You don't need to watch. You don't need to prove anything. Let them start over. Let them run. Let them pretend. Because while they're chasing admiration, you're building something real: peace, self, worth, healing. The new person isn't better. They're just next. And eventually, they'll see it too. You broke the cycle. You saw through the mask. And even though it hurt, even though it shook you, you came out with clarity. That's something they'll never find in a rush to replace what they never truly valued. Let that be your closure. You didn't lose someone special. You let go of someone who never truly showed up. And in doing so, you gained your freedom.